Some of the advantages of announced testing, let's go over that. First is it is more efficient and a team-oriented testing practice. On the other hand, some of the key disadvantage I can think of is of announced testing is there's a lack of security, and there is a less reliable results because everything is so much pre-perceived, and it is announced, everybody knows what's going on, a lot of patches probably are put in place. So those are some of the key disadvantages I can think of. All right, so next up, let's look at another kind of penetration testing that is called the unannounced. So we looked at announced testing, this is unannounced penetration testing. So what is unannounced penetration testing? So usually in an unannounced testing is basically an attempt to access and retrieve pre-identified flag files or to compromise systems on the client network with the awareness of only the upper level management, you can say, or the upper level staff within an organization. So this testing basically examines both your existing security infrastructure and the responsive of all the staff. Basically, you basically try to examine your all the security infrastructure which you have in place, and the responsive of the staff which they are responsible for. Another type of penetration testing is also the manual testing. So you should know about that. So manual testing is the best option an organization can choose to benefit from the experience of the security professionals. So as the name suggests, it's all done manual. So the purpose of manual penetration testing is to identify specific application vulnerabilities, and it is always within a scoped domain, or within a scoped domains, you can say, if you're multiple. So many testing practices happen in manual testing. So mostly it requires your planning, it requires your test designing, also scheduling is very important, and documentation is the key to capture all your results, and to also for informing your organization about what's wrong and what's not wrong. So documentation is a key after you're submitting your results. All right. So now you're aware of some of the most popular and common types of penetration testing and all the different types of pen testing techniques. Next is strategy part of penetration testing, which I want to talk to you about. So we have multiple strategies. External pen testing, that is new to you, I know, at this time, but external penetration testing basically evaluates the strengths and weaknesses of an organization, and this could be an internal and external architecture of the organization by using the internet. So that is all what you should know about the external penetration testing. So main goal is to finding flaws which enable the organization to defend itself against intruders. So once you find the flaws, then you can put defending strategies in place, right? So this type of testing basically differs from your internal penetration testing because it is conducted from outside of the network. You're not within the secure intranet, you may say, but from the external outside network. And while internal testing is conducted from within the network. So the external and internal, so that's a big difference right there. So some of the strategies are for this kind of testing are wireless and remote access assessment for your internal security. So basically your network security assessment, that could be your telephony security assessment, application security, and finally social engineering are some of the strategies which people are using when it comes down to external penetration testing. So we have your network security assessment, telephony, your telephone system security assessment, application security, and your social engineering. So I'll explain these to you. But social engineering is a method in which attackers manipulate employees in order to obtain information about the organization and its security. So attackers, they could befriend your employee, they could send them something, very enticing, say, oh, you got XYZ promotion. There are different strategies, and they open up the email, or somehow they get into their system and get access to this internal information. So another important technique you should know about is external penetration testing. So It is a traditional approach of pen testing. The testing usually is focused on the servers, infrastructure, and also the underlying software comprising the target. So it may be performed with no prior knowledge on the site, and it's a completely black box, maybe. It could be all black box testing. So external penetration testing, external pen testing, which is called, consists of basically you review all your vulnerabilities that could be exploited by external users without credentials or the appropriate right to access the system. So the assessment, when you look at the external penetration testing, the assessment will show whether they have been a return on investment of existing implemented security controls, such as your firewall or your intrusion detection or your prevention systems. Even your implemented application defenses, is there a return on investment on those or not? And there is a full disclosure of the topology environment. So it may be crystal and it may be like you can say maybe a white box kind of environment there. So next, let's talk about the internal security assessment. So what is the internal security assessment? So usually testing will be performed from a number of network access points, and each of them representing each logical and a physical segment on your network. So for example, this may include tiers in your network and the DMZs, the demilitarized zones of the multiple tiers. So 1 tier, 2 tier, 3 security we are using, and the DMZ, as we have discussed in the first chapter, DMZ stands for your demilitarized zone. So this is all within an environment and the corporate network, and the partners companies all need to be connected through that network, right? So the internal penetration testing, where the testing involves testing the security weaknesses and strengths of the computers and devices within a company. It basically involves checking the sites basically on the location and the connection of the internal networks. So you can say that it is mainly done to check the existence of known vulnerabilities that could be exploited by authorized internal users. So if there's a vulnerability, the internal users can get to it because they have access to it. So a penetration tester, basically what he does is his main strategy is he disguises as an authenticated user and then attacks the system to check for vulnerabilities. So the tester scans the internal servers and basically identifies the hosts to start with, which have open ports, services, and network configurations are loose. So then basically the tester also sniffs network traffic. It goes in and does sniffing of the network traffic for sensitive data, such as your passwords, if they're going on, and then they sniff it and then they capture them. All right. So this was a pretty interesting chapter. This brings us to end of class 2 part 1. So far we have gone over your blue team, red team, what it means, what are the key differences there. Then we dove into different types of pen testing. After that I explained to you various strategies of penetration testing. And then finally the external penetration testing versus internal security assessment. What are the key differences there? I hope you had fun as much as I did. I will see you in next, that is part 2 of class 2. Until then, thank you.